Hey everyone, Maxtortion here with another Legacy Challenge video. I am playing the Saturday Night Legacy Challenge. It starts in just a minute and a half, I suppose. What I'm playing tonight is a deck archetype that several people had asked me about, or trying to figure out if it's good or not, basically. And that card is Leyline Dowser. It's from, I think, the Commander set in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Correct me if I'm wrong. I genuinely don't know, but I think that's the case. And it's a 2-mana artifact, one in tap, mill a card. You may put an instant or sorcery milled this way into your hand. So basically, you mill a card and you end up drawing it without literally drawing, if it's an instant or sorcery. And then you tap an untapped legendary creature you control to untap it, so you can like use Uro to get extra draws. But really, the idea is that you activate this every turn or as many turns as you can afford to. You fill your deck with instants and sorceries, which you will see I have done. These are all instants and sorceries, or a card that benefits from being milled in lands, I suppose. And then you just kind of accrue massive card advantage. It's like up the Beanstalk, but you don't have to play a ton of expensive cards. Instead, you can just kind of play instants and sorceries. So the challenge is 10 seconds out from starting, so I'm not even going to do a little break. We're just going to go live into round 1 here. But to quickly outline what we've got 7 removal spells. Got Brainstorm, Ponder. We've got 2 Stifles to kind of go with our Wasteland package, to help against like fast initiative stuff. A Life from the Loam to recur the Wastelands. 2 Supreme Verdicts as board wipes against Stompy decks and Delver. 2 Fourth Erlinguses to do big kill-in, and 3 Uros as kind of a stabilize win condition hybrid card. 7 Forces because we draw a ton of cards, so we can afford the card disadvantage. All right, so we are against Deathrong Shaman for 20, who we've played against in the past. They are a lands player. I will keep this. It's got the Leyline Dowser. It's got a force for like an exploration effect or something like that. And I will try to get my mana stable. Not forcing the Mox Diamond. I'm not going to force the expedition map either. I could technically force the map, but I think that my best odds are if they get a fast merit layers going using their expedition map to get a Dark Depths. So I kind of want to motivate that, which means that I'm looking to not crack this or not counter this map. Okay, drew a few too many Swords to Plowshares now. I'm going to end up redrawing 1 and putting 1 back. So this turn, I think I am safe to do Leyline Dowser things. Which I mean to play Leyline Dowser because I can counter a spell being cast. And other than that, the Expedition map can just get Dark Depths or Urza Saga this turn. This Plains that I played might motivate them to get the Urza Saga instead of the Dark Depths, which isn't ideal necessarily, but I think it's still fine. I can go toe-to-toe with card advantage. Yep, there's the Urza Saga. Saga's in. Okay, Lorien revealed, not bad. So what I'm going to do here is I'm first going to ponder. Nice. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to draw Force of Negation. I'm going to I think, yeah, play out the Savannah. And I am okay getting this wastelanded. Once it does, I will mill in response and draw the Stifle. I do have to select it every time. So my clock is something of a factor in these games. I'm going to have to play fast and honestly a little bit loose at times if I want to stay on top of it. Now I'm going to go to Tropical Island. Okay. We're holding the fort. There might be some thespian stage shenanigans happening at some point. But as of right now, that's not happening. Now another construct is getting made. The saga is a crop rotation. Let's see here. I think I'm going to brainstorm in response to see if I have a card I'd rather pitch. Yeah, I'd rather, I think, pitch this other brainstorm. So I'll put back tropical and prismatic ending. I will force this pitching brainstorm. I want to save this force of negation for a life from the loam. Okay, fortunately I do have prismatic ending on top to answer that. Unfortunately I didn't do it in response, so I can't do it right now, but now I no longer care about exploration. I think I will stifle this wasteland. Yeah. So we spend this to wipe this card off the board. Yeah, we didn't do this in response. We really should have, but I just kind of forgot. So since I know that my top card does not mill cleanly with Leyline Dowser, it's, you know, a land. There we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm debating on shuffle, no shuffle. I think no shuffle. And I'm going to fetch a blue-green Surveil Hedge Maze and Surveil an instant or sorcery to the top, which I found. So I will be able to activate that at instant speed to draw it. This is one turn where I'm kind of shields down with regard to Light from the Loam, because I don't have a blue pitch. I use my Ponder. Let's see what happens here. Okay, fresh Saga. Or Saga at 2 now, because upkeep, Surveil. Making another Saga to pump this one, makes sense. And so now I'm just trying to stay ahead on time, or stay reasonably ahead on time. I think that step 1 here is going to be to prismatic ending one of these guys. And I'll hold up Force of Negation because I might need it, and then end step I'll just activate Leyline Dowser. Yeah, this is not ideal. Soul Guide Lantern, yeah. Hitting my stuff. There's the Dark Depths, that's why I kept A Swords to Plowshares. Ponder is a nice pickup. I need another land that can tap for white. Or Supreme Verdict or something like that. I really need to clear these constructs. Okay. Pondering. Okay, so we found the other land. And we found a fourth Erlingus, which will actually kind of rumble with the tokens in a turn cycle. So that's pretty good too. I'm going to use this on one of the constructs now just to shrink it a little bit. And again, this Swords to Plowshares does need to get saved for this Merit Lage. But I will be stable with this fourth Erlingus. So yeah, let's draw it. And then I think I'm going to brainstorm on the end step here. Okay, Uro is great. I think I want to keep the Uro. No, I guess not because of the Soul Guide Lantern. So let's see here. I'll go to 5. I'm going to get a Meticulous Archive, which is the Surveil. Put that on top. See, so I'll be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I spend 5 mana, I'll be able to make 3 creatures, which means I can attack with 2 of them. Is that? And, you know, beat the Mazavith. I think that's what I want to do. Because otherwise, I don't guarantee that I get the monarchy here. Attack, attack. Draw a card on my end step. Force of Will is a nice pickup. Yep. So I will chump block this construct. I guess, yeah, I still will. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. And then plow the Merit Lage. Yeah, I think I go to 1 actually. 1's not 0. Okay. Go 1, 2, 3. Yes. Trying to go quickly on this. Unfortunately, Tabernacle is anything but. Ooh, fantastic. Okay, now I'm just taking the monarchy back. Got decent control over this game now if I can get to a stable life total. First going to make opponents pay for construct. And he's out of cards, which is good. Okay, so now I can safely plow this. Mill a card. Milled Mystic Sanctuary, which is obviously not what I want to mill, but don't always get a choice. Now I'm paying as quickly as I can for these. I'm going to play this even though I can't activate it, just because there's a benefit to if I draw an Uro, I'll be able to use it then. I'm going to always yield to these Maze of Iths, save some time on clicking. Popping the Soul Guide Lantern, which is actually very good for me. Hey, Wasteland is also very good because I can get this Tabernacle off the field. Aether Spellbomb is something I don't care about. Drawing a card with it, yeah. I'm not going to tap out of Force of Negation in case it was a Punishing Fire. I guess if it was a Punishing Fire, I could plow my own human. Still not worth it. I think that I'm much better off keeping my Fawn where I can see it. I only have one more turn of having to overpay for these things. Life and Limb. Okay, yeah. Snap countering that. Blue, blue, blue. And we're just really trying to, I'm slightly behind on time now, but I'm trying to win as fast as I can. Second Leyline Dowser is not bad. Let's get rid of this Tabernacle. I will attack. Get in for 2. I think I'm gonna mill with this Dowser now. Okay, mill the other Wasteland. Not ideal, but what you gonna do? Hey, Uro, fantastic. We're gonna be swimming in life total very soon. Draw step. What's happening in my draw step? Am I getting finishing fired? Because I have a source of plowshares I'd like to use. Okay, so I'll play this. Go 1 green. And then if this resolves trigger on the stack, I'm going to draw with Leyline Dowser. And then I'll do it again. Because I can untap with the Uro. So yeah, first I'll gain the life. Then I'm going to mill. Got that into hand, fantastic. And then I'll tap a creature, untap it. Arrow dies. Fetch, go to 3. Get another trop. Go green, green, blue, blue. Arrow, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter. Get arrow back into play. Now again, I'm just trying to play for time. Nice that I have the Force of Will in hand already, so I do have control over this game. Second Force, fantastic. Only have 15 cards in library, so I do need to be a little bit careful about drawing cards now. Like I shouldn't go too extra on the Leyline Dowser at this point because I have both my Monarchy and Uro, so I'm essentially drawing 3 cards a turn. I just need to be able to close it out. I do have a second, fourth Erlingus as well somewhere. And I have the Life from the Loam, which could target the 2 Wastelands. So let's get in there. And then maybe that was the wrong button to use. I should not do full auto yields here. But I am trying to get in and win in time to not deck myself, which is really not a given. Although I can stifle this thing's ability to make 2 mana. Or make 2 creatures, which maybe I'll do. Just so it doesn't get blockers. Yeah, Life from the Loam is my main draw here. Oh, this is a good one. And since I have so many forces, I can just go all in on the fireball. This will shorten the clock by quite a bit. Cool. And opponent agrees, and we're up a game. So yeah, we get serious card advantage with this deck. As far as cards we want, Surgical, Meltdown, Fawn. Lavinia doesn't seem that great to the Punishing Fires, and also just like there's nothing free. Fourth Erlingus actually seems overall pretty solid. Supreme Verdict is kind of loose in the matchup, not super necessary. Yeah, quick fourth getting under some stuff and being able to just kind of run away with the initiative is good. Or with the Monarchy, not the initiative, the other thing. Yeah, it seems good. I have a few cards I could cut now. Do you think I can cut a Leyline Dowser? Maybe 1 plow. And maybe I'll cut 2 Dowsers. And I guess I could trim down to 2 plows. It's kind of a greedy call. It banks a little bit on our opponent not going all in for fast Merit Lage, kind of accepting the vulnerability to plow. And so I'm kind of trimming them. It's a little bit of a prisoner's dilemma type thing. Exploration is fine. I've got a force of negation for the Life from the Loam. Soulguide Lantern Stifle is kind of funny, but I intend on kind of stifle nodding this arrow into play if I can. Which means that I play the arrow and then with the next land trigger, I would stifle that. Okay, opponent's just drawing, looking for stuff. Yeah, there's the quick Dark Depths. Yeah, so we do not have the Swords to Plowshares right now. However, I will pass. They go for it, I will stifle the activation. Copying that, let's see here. So yeah, it's okay. They have blue now. Another exploration. I will brainstorm again. I will put those two on top. I'm going to fetch on my upkeep here for a Tundra. And I'm just going to surgical this to get info, essentially. It might motivate a play as well. I can stifle the activation of Thespian Stage. I can't stifle it once the Merit Lage is on the stack. No, I can, but it just re-triggers because the condition is still met. So yeah. Okay, now I know the deck. Which is really the main thing I was looking for there. I am in trouble now. My little bluff with Life in the Loam is catching up with me because of this Flusterstorm in hand. Or bluff with Swords to Plowshares. I misspoke. Although, if they go for it now, which they appear to be, I do have a second out of Prismatic Ending. That's nice. I will Fawn pitch Uro. Okay, so they cluster all three copies at Fawn. Unfortunately, I cannot stop that. I can Force of Will it right now, though, so I will. And there's the Prismatic Ending. Unfortunately, this Life from the Loam is still safely in the graveyard and going to be dredged now, so I do have to. There's another one too. Yuck. Yeah, I've got to counter it. It's really bad for me. I'm probably going to lose this game in short order, but I need to just kind of hope to draw a second surgical or something. That was not it. I'm just going to concede this game for time. We know how long the first one took. Okay, so game 3. Yeah, I'll bring these back in. That was a little bit arrogant of me. Let's run that. Third plow. Be on the play. And seems fine. I'm fairly likely to surveil with a blue-white, the archive or something. Mystical archive, what I want to call it. I don't really know. Meticulous archive. Yeah, I'll keep it. Little meltdown among friends. Get that Mox Diamond right out of here. Loading the wrong mana as a way to kind of obfuscate what I'm doing. I'm going to Surgical Thespian Stages in opponent's draw step. Because if they have another... Thespian Stage is kind of the key to all of their combos, right? So that did work. Field of the Dead, okay. And one more mana and I can start dousing. Although these sagas are going to pose some sort of issue. I should have been more specific. I needed untapped land. But that is untapped land. And opponents just getting the most value as possible out of these sagas, not overlapping them. Opponent might be considering a surgical on like Wasteland. Yeah. Which is fine because Meltdown is going to be the card that we really want to get back. I'm going to try to get Mystic Sanctuary and then recur Meltdown to clear all these constructs once those become a problem. So I'll go Leyline Dowser. And in the upkeep, I'll activate it. I want to beat the Pithing Needle this time around. I guess not it. Upkeep, I'll do it now. Hey, fourth. Aerlingus. Let's see what opponent gets. It might just be a Pithing Needle. No, it's map. Wasteland, gross. That's tough for me. I need to draw out of that. But these have been Misties, so I could not have fetch basic. Okay, well that's drawing out of it in some ways. Let's go with a Tundra. Start with an activation of Leyline Dowser. Cool. That's really good. I will do Prismatic Ending on the map. And then next turn I can get Mystic Sanctuary with Lorien revealed, play it, activate Leyline Dowser to draw the Meltdown, and then activate Meltdown. Or then cast Meltdown, I mean. Exploration is not a card that really bothers me right now. So now we get Meltdown. Meltdown on top. Yes. We activate Dowser, mill it, draw it. cast it. So we played the land, yep. Okay. The saga's ticking up. Another saga. Jeez. Okay. A lot of sagas. So at this point, I think I'm going to the biggest that this construct can be right now is a 1/1. So I'm just going to attack with 1 knight token because they have trample. And really hope that I can start catapulting this into a win. Although it looks like opponent's going for the Field of the Dead line now. Okay, we drew some lands. Sagas are going to 2 and 3 respectively, so they can get pretty big. See if anything hasty is coming in. With the boots. I should check the deck. Shadow Spear is in, not the boots. But Pithing Needle is gonna name the Dowser, but we have a prismatic ending for that. I will double block this. Because if he activates to make a 4/4, I'd rather just trade. Yep. Okay, Stifle's a pretty good draw also because it means that I can stifle an activation of the Saga. Ortholingus is also a good card to have. I think I'm going to save it for next turn when I can go way, way bigger. Yeah, I'll draw now. Hey, Ura's really good. So, yeah, I'm going to stifle that. Okay, the Shadow Spear. Yep. That's some serious damage coming in. Do I have to take the 7, go to 1? Because otherwise I can't hit back to take the Monarch? Yeah, I think I do. Wait. No, because Maze of Ith stops that anyway. So I think I just take 4 here. I'm going to use this, I think, just to fetch to thin. I'll get a Trop. Okay, so if I make a big fireball of creatures and attack with 2 of them, how does that look for me? 1, 2. I would make 5 creatures, attack with 2. I think that's fine. Then I can throw 2 and 1. Yeah. So I will get a Savannah, I suppose. Attacking with 2 to take back the monarchy, because Maze of Ithras stopped me otherwise. Okay, that's solid. Okay. Tokens. Of note, opponent has Caracas, so Uro is not going to be stable at any point in this game. Block, block, block. If these all trade, everything dies. Because that other token becomes a 2/2. I will counter pretty much anything right now. Okay, can't counter that activation because I don't have a stifle. I'll counter pretty much anything I can counter. That's something I can counter. I will force pitch force because I still have a third one. Inspiration doesn't do anything. Okay, that's good. So I'm gonna first I'm gonna kind of just try to extract maximum value here. Okay, so I'll put land and force of will on top. Activate this to mill the force of will. Draw it. And then I go 1, 2, 3. Play the Uro. I draw a land, play the land. Also untap this, why not? Then I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Uro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just putting myself up to a stable life total. Obviously, Caracas can bring me up higher. And I did bring in the third, fourth Lingus, right? Cool. So it's somewhere in the deck. Which is where I want it. Surgical. I think I'm going to surgical my opponent's sagas now. Taiga in hand. Okay. That unfortunately means more things coming in, another zombie. Yep, I block. And I'm going to keep chugging along, try to win in time. I do think I have the win. I just need to actually win it. Let's ponder first. Stifle and plow. Solid cards, I believe. So 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Let's mill over the stifle to draw it. I'll go 1, 2, 3 Uro. Getting life, drawing card, putting land into play. 1, 2, 3, 4 Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, just trying to get to my fireball. And I anticipate that this is going to get Caracased, which is totally fine. I will just discard it. As well as one of my forces. Now I'm looking for my third, fourth Lingus. Sylvan Library, I'm not particularly interested in having resolve. I'll do a force, pitching a force. That just spells a lot of cards for them. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Draw the ponder. Use the ponder. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. Do it again. Any order. Yeah, I'm going to shuffle that. Okay. I'm not going to play the loam because I think it's going to just clog the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, just trying to go fast here. I do have a third, fourth Lingus that I'm drawing to. I will move to end step though, because there it is. So I'll discard Uro and that's it. Fantastic. The next turn I'll have a big fourth Lingus coming in. N-O-P-E opponent. No Crucible for you. And then we're going to get a big fireball now. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 9 guys coming in. The Rohirrim saving the day yet again, as they are wont to do. And we got the match. Awesome. Probably the last one to finish as well. Yep. It's quite a grind fest. I'll see you all for round 2. Okay, round 2 is just starting up. Who are we up against? 2 plus 2 is 5. They are they usually play Izzet Delver. Yesterday they played blue-black Scaminator. So probably something in the blue and not going to combo us on turn 1 realm is my guess. Although it looks like Red Stompy is not like out of their range. No, this was goblins. With name sticker goblins. So yeah, as you noticed from last round, I'm going to be playing fast from the get-go because this deck has a lot of clicking. The main thing that adds time is that you have to manually select the card, like instant or sorcery, that you mill with Leyline Dowser, because you can also technically choose to leave it in your graveyard. I don't know why. Yeah, very clicky deck. I will unpause as soon as my opponent gets back. Okay, opponent has returned. This hand seems perfectly serviceable against Delver, Scaminator, whatever. Ideally Delver because of the Supreme Verdict, but I'm notably missing double white, but I can go, Volk Ponder, and it looks like I'm a Delver player. They're mulliganing to 6. They might think I'm on Red Stompy. I've been playing a bit of Red Stompy. I top 8'd the Showcase Challenge, I guess last weekend, with Red Stompy, and then I 0-3'd the Legacy RCQ yesterday that was on Moto with Red Stompy, same deck. So, the swings come and go. I'm fortunate that I was choosing to not record that one and was choosing to record tonight because I wanted to get some Leyline Dowser action in before Modern Horizons 3 blesses us all in a couple weeks. Speaking of which, next Friday, June 7th, there's an early access thing for Moto creators, of which I am one. And so a bunch of the legacy Moto creators, including myself, are going to be streaming with our all access accounts with MH3, just kind of doing direct challenges because the leagues aren't going to be active, but we can just direct challenge each other and try out different decks against each other and see what's good and what's not. Just kind of get a first impression of it all. Okay, looks like we're against Scaminator, which obviously, we'd like to have our Ponder and our Plow stay in hand and not get discarded, but that's the thing about Career Scam is that you don't really want to mulligan against them because you're not mulliganing 2 particular cards in hand because then they can just discard them. But fortunately for us, they can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck. So we'll just draw what we need. Cool Swamp, Pixel Swamp. I will play out the Misty so I can use a Surveil. Presuming that I, don't just like rip Plow right now. That Savannah actually might motivate me to do blue-white with this Misty on the Surveil land, so that I have double white for Supreme Verdict in a few turns. And I already have a single green for the front half of Uro. Trolls coming in, or trolls coming out, I guess, into the yard. Undercity sewers. I'll let them handle their Surveil before I do mine. As a heuristic, like if you can afford to be the one with more information, it's better to do it that way. I'll keep that. And I'm playing out the volcanic here because island, island, island means that this mystic sanctuary is something that would be able to enter untapped down the line. So I don't want to just throw it out as a tapped land early. If I was really stuck on lands, this would be the turn that I would just like play out a tapped mystic sanctuary. Another troll. Is this like a Bowmaster or a Dothy Voidwalker? Maybe an Animate Dead? Dothy Voidwalker. So definitely not going to Uro this turn. And I'm hoping that there's just no natural Supreme Wasteland off the top. That's the card I would be weakest to right now. Other than that, I don't really care what they do. I am going to force of negation this Ponder. I just don't want the Wasteland to get drawn. White, white, blue, doesn't matter. Get out of here. And then next turn I can actually, use Uro to draw a card, which is going to be a little bit of a weird play, but it'll work. Or no, actually, I'm not going to get too fancy. I'm going to go 2 mana, exile the Dathi. I was going to regrow the Swords of Plowshares with Uro, but I think what I would rather do is I would just rather regrow a Ponder and then use the Ponder. Because now I can keep things safely on top of the deck in case Grief comes down, which it very likely could. So I'll put 4th Leyline Tundra in that order, which means that I am unthoughtseizable. And then I can play my Leyline Dowser next turn, mill the 4th Lingus, and then cast it over subsequent turns. Or I could get Uro down and just go that way about it. Maybe that's better. Yeah, because when Uro hits play, I can still activate Dowser. Yep. So our plan worked as intended. Swinging a miss on that Grief. So now we play Leyline Dowser. I'm going to go green, green, blue, blue. Uro pitching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hitting play. Once it hits play, I'll activate Dowser to draw. Because I know the top card is the 4th Lingus. Fantastic. Okay. Looks like we're in there now. And we got game 1. Opponent saw the writing on the wall. Now they could be regular scam, but or they might, cut some of the Entomb package. Either way, I think I want surgicals, I want veils. I don't necessarily think I want the whole pile of forces. 4th Lingus is a little bit riskier than it would otherwise be because of like Bowmaster stuff. Maybe I want like a Pyroblast or a Flusterstorm as my last card. Lavinia is kind of cute, but I don't think it's right. I think I'm going to play 1 4th Lingus as a Fireball. Not going to overboard here. Don't go overboard, that's what they say. Okay, game 2 is starting up. We will be on the draw, I presume. This hand is fine. It's got a Brainstorm. And again, you don't really want to mulligan too much against Grief Scam because they can just discard you. I think I'm going to fetch a basic island with this Misty Rainforest and pass the turn to my opponent. Yeah. Or, actually, I'm going to Brainstorm now while they're tapped out. Okay, drew a force, which is pretty good. So I'll do Prismatic Ending and then Leyline Dowser on top. So essentially I have Force of Will in hand if I need it. And if I don't need it, I have the rest of the stuff. Okay, so they're getting a second land now. You know, I'm actually kind of inclined to waste this. I know it's not the most efficient Leyline Dowser play, but I have a feeling they're just tight on lands. I really needed that second land because all they did this turn cycle was cycle for it. And I think I want to force this. Because I can much more easily handle, yeah, okay. Well, that's a little annoying. We know that the next card is Prismatic Ending, which also doesn't answer it. Okay, I mean, we can try. Dothy Days, Animate Dead. Yeah, I'm not going to try. I'm too far behind from all of that. I do kind of like the Flusterstorms now, though. Over some number of Prismatic Ending. I do hit like Dothy Voidwalker. Say one Fluster for good measure. I like that. Yeah, if I can like kind of set up some sort of. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to weigh the relative weight of the different cards. I do have Supreme Verdict that can clean up like Voidwalker, Bowmaster stuff. Getting ranched by the Reanimator plan is something that can happen, although I didn't really know for sure that they had it until just now. Part of the reason why I think the Blue-Black Scam deck or Scaminator deck does so well is that there are versions with and without the Reanimator combo. So the version without the Reanimator combo gains equity from people not fully respecting, or from the version without the Reanimator combo gains equity from people respecting the Reanimator plan, and vice versa, where basically if you're playing around the Reanimator plan and they don't have it, then the deck is just like you're playing scared for a thing they can't even draw. And then on the flip side, if you're not fully respecting the Reanimator plan against when they are playing it, they can just beat you with it. So I think that is the fact that those two decks exist both bring the other one up. I think that if one of those decks ceased existing, like if everything became Reanimator, then I think that the Reanimator plan would actually get weaker naturally because people would be respecting it fully, and then it would then become correct to play the version of the deck without it, the Scam deck, which would then bring it back up. So it's kind of like a circular metagame decisions. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep. And I think I'm not going to go to basics because there's a chance I can just get a stifle in there on my opponent's first fetch land. Otherwise I could stifle not this Uro into play, which again is a play I kind of like making. You afraid of me? You scared of your little verdant catacombs? Should be. Now I'm just kind of using the stifle as a threat. They read me on it. Oh, I'm going to brainstorm first with, I believe, Tropical Island. I want to kind of put away this Mystic Sanctuary at the very least. And I guess one brainstorm now. And then I'll do another trop. Or I'll do a tundra. Or sorry, a volcanic now on the stifle. Hopefully that was their only land. It was. So instead of doing Uro value stuff, I want to just take the monarchy now. So I can run away with the game. Yeah. Oh, opponent's discarding the hand size. Hopefully not Atraxa. Oh, Entomb. Could have been Atraxa, but it wasn't. Let's see here. So now let's go 1, 2, 3. We'll play an Uro. Uro hits play. We draw. Play this. Okay, now I'm gonna just play out the Leyline Dowser with a Savannah, I believe. No, I think a Tropical Island. That way I'm less likely to get wasted for Mystic Sanctuary reasons. Opponent found a land. It's a tapped one. So let's ponder first, I believe. Perfect. So go 1, 2, 3, no shuffle. Play that. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Go. Oops. Need blue, blue, green, green. Can't use white for that. So I have to activate this now. And then I think I will actually grab this stifle. Because I think it's the scariest card for my opponent to deal with. And I'm going to do the Uro from hand for this one. Because I can untap and leave up stifle this way. Opponent seems nonplussed about all of this. I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, ponder is fine. One thing that's kind of cool about stifle is Atraxa is way less scarier when you can stifle its ETB trigger. It chose no shuffle. Yep, there's the Underground Sea, au naturel. I'm just gonna YOLO this. Let's see if we hit. Oh, we milled. That's okay. That's a good draw. Swamp Cycle the Troll. I'm gonna let that resolve. I could have stifled it, but I'd rather stifle something more impactful now. I'm gonna mill this naturally again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Uro coming in. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw. Well, now we hit a thing. That's fine. We can attack. I think I'm going to try to brainstorm for a land so I don't have to go to discard. Success. I'll put the Veil 2 cards down so I don't draw it. Oh no, I played a land already. Game won't let me cheat. How unfair. Well, I can discard the other Leyline Dowser. We've got so much value coming. Entomb Reanimate is the best thing they can do right now, and I think I can beat it. It's pretty funny. Yep. See what they hit. 10 cards. They did already play a land this turn. And I'm drawing a Veil of Summer, which will be really good for preventing them from stopping me. So I wonder if they have a grief in hand. If they do, it's not going to matter because they can grief one of my plows. And then I'll be able to plow with the other one and still get rid of it. Pluto Delta, Brainstorm, Animate, Dead, Reanimate. Those are the cards they picked. So first things first, I think I'm going to plow the Atraxa. I'm going to Ephraim Wasteland and Hedge Maze. Play Wasteland. Activate. And opponent's seen enough. They cannot beat the Wastelock, and we beat an Atraxa. Very cool. We got there. We are 2-0, and I'll see you all for round 3. Everyone back for round 3. We're against possibly 8 cast. I'll keep this hand. It's got Leyline Dowsers up the wazoo, a Supreme Verdict to clean up construct tokens, etc. Yep, this is definitely 8 cast. Not definitely 8 cast, but definitely maybe 8 cast. Force of Negation was a decent draw. At this point, I need white mana, so I'm just bidding the Prismatic Ending. I already have one. I'm looking more to just get rid of lands, try to draw. Ideally, I'd like to naturally draw a land next turn so I can play Leyline Dowser. And then turn 3, get control of the game, I suppose. Did not draw land. I did draw a good card to pitch to Force of Negation, which is, of course, Force of Negation. Opponent's considering forcing this. I wouldn't mind if they did. Or they're reading it for the first time, which is also pretty funny since, you know, we're 2-0 in a Legacy Challenge. Let's read it together. Tap, or one generic tap, mill a card. Okay, they let it resolve. So very likely what's going to happen now is they're going to make another construct. They're going to get a Mox Opal with their tutor effect here. And then that will let them equip Lava Spur Boots onto a construct, and then they'll hit me for 9 damage right now, which is a lot of damage. Okay. If they have land naturally from hand, this also makes sense. Yeah. Still taking 9. No, I'm taking 11. That's a lot of damage. Even if I do draw a white source off the top here, I don't think I can survive this. They know if I have a white source. I don't know yet. Not a white source. I'm just going to concede here. Because what's going to happen is they're going to make another hasty construct next turn. So even if I could remove one, I'd still lose. So these come in. I don't really know if I want Force of Negation. Lavinia is pretty good against all the 0 drops. I could actually cut a pair of Leyline Dowsers to play around Pithing Needle, I think. Stifle's okay. Good enough to keep in, I think. I think I like this post-war configuration. I could potentially do something like cut a plains, given that they don't play any wastelands, but as you saw that game, I really need my plains. Didn't have one and I lost. Even if I did have one, I might have still lost. The ideal would have been if I could like turn 1, play the plains, and do a prismatic ending on the boots right then and there before it starts making hasty constructs. But that was not how that game lined up at all. Okay. So this plan is basically try to keep the board clear and then get in with a quick 4th Erlingus. I think that's how this lines up in my head with this opening hand. This Flooded Strand is due to fetch bulk. That Saga makes my plan a little bit worse. Okay, now at least I can fetch one of the Surveil lands with this one. So I'm just kind of trying to be careful with my fetches here. So I'm going to fetch Ridiculous Archive. In that. I could just get in there with Force Erlingus. 4th Erlingus. But they'd be able to counter me back or like push back in. I don't know if I'd be able to remove the creature to retake control of the game. So probably not going to do that. I'll go Trop, play Tundra. I think I'm going to make an Uro, play an Uro in, and then I can play Flooded Strand as my next card. Green Verdict is good. It means I can clear the constructs safely. And I will fetch fetch Volcanic Island with this Flooded Strand before a potential Pithing Needle can shut it off. I hope something like an Emery comes down this turn, so that I can clean it up in the Force of Will. Or, sorry, in the Supreme Verdict. Just naming cards at random, hoping it's the right card to name. Petal's fine, I don't really care. Blue, white. Verdict. Force of Will is currently offline, but Pyroblast is online. And since I have a plow, I'm going to let this Emery resolve. I'd much rather counter something on the stack with this Pyroblast that it can't be cleanly plowed. So we'll start with the plow here. Now I'm just going to play this for 2. Might get forced. Does, I'm okay with it. Get traded with a Thought Monitor. How many of those do I have in the deck right now? I have 1 more. Maybe this is a Thought Monitor? Thought Cast. Emery, okay, again, I can plow that. Not too worried. Lots of Hydroblasts. Found a force for my force, which I do enjoy. This might get forced, which I will Pyroblast. Okay, now I'm feeling pretty okay. I do need to draw something good to keep control of the game. But they have lots of good hits. That's a good hit. And I'm saving this for an Urza Saga. Let's start with the Ponder. Nice. 1, 2, 3. So I can go blue. And I can draw the Stifle and stifle the Uro. Sacrifice trigger. So this is what I call stifle nodding an Uro into play. One of my favorite things to do. This gets forced, I'm going to be annoyed. Color me annoyed. Because I could have meltdown first. I just chose to do it this way because I wanted the Uro in play this turn, because every additional turn that Uro is in play, the more card advantage you accrue with it. And I didn't necessarily think that anything that fiery was going to come out of my opponent. Although I guess I should have anticipated counter magic in hand, since they've got cards in hand and they're not doing too much. Okay. Let's meltdown first. I'm doing it like this because I want them to activate Soul Guide. I don't want to leave it in play. Also, it ends the game, apparently. I don't really think I want to change too much. Fourth Erlingus is a little worse on the draw, but I still want to just have 2 in the deck. Fourth Erlingus. Force Erlingus? Force of Will, fourth Erlingus. This hand is a little weak. And is a lot better. Keep. Let's put away the Erlingus. Just want to have a stable mana base. Nothing for, oh, there's something for Emery to bring back. The bauble. If I draw a white source off the top, this Emery's going down. I didn't, but I still got Lorien, which I will gladly use. Yep, Bubble's coming back in. I could stifle that. I just don't think it's worth it at this point. I think that the stifle is going to have greater value elsewhere. Especially since this top card is not something I'm going to draw, because I'm going to use Lorien Revealed to cycle for a Tundra. Wasteland's a really nice draw. Let's start with plowing this Emery. Metallic Rebuke. Now I guess I can't pay 3. Yep. We are just hanging out now. Bauble from hand. Looking at my top card. Bauble from yard doing the same thing. Okay. I'm going to try to prismatic ending this Emery for what it's worth. It's not a very efficient play, but it's what I got to do. This smells like Force of Will, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is a Force of Will. I'll try it. 1, 2, 3. There's the force. Yeah, the Emery is really doing work. I do need to answer it, I guess. This meltdown currently doesn't do much because the baubles just cleanly replace themselves. That's pretty annoying. Emery's just kind of doing a draw 2 cards a turn deal. Lava Spur Boots, okay. Boots are on the Emery, it makes it a little bit harder to remove her. Okay, at this point, I think I want to play a Flooded Strand because I can Mystic Sanctuary back one of these. Probably the Swords to Pleasure since it costs less. And I don't want to keep it face up yet. I'd much rather my opponent not know that that's my plan. Thought Monitor, I will stifle that draw too. It's too many cards. Yeah, so they're drawing more cards. Obviously, I don't love that. I'll do this end step. I get Mystic Sanctuary. Put Swords to Plowshares back on top of my library. They draw 2 cards now, which is unfortunate because quite likely they find a force or something. I think I play out a Wasteland first so I can play around Metallic Rebuke. Otawara. Yeah, I mean, I pay for it. It doesn't matter. I'm just being silly. Hmm. Because of the meltdown, or because of the Lava Spur Boots, I think I want to actually meltdown now. The Emery doesn't get an extra turn. They could sack Welding Jar to regenerate it. They do. Do I now use Wasteland on an Ancient Tomb? I don't think so. The Emery still only costs 1. They are taking damage off these tombs. Mox Opal. Emery coming in. Two Sagas in the yard. The boots are now on the Emery. She's spurred up and ready to go. So the reason why I didn't do the plow play on my opponent's turn is because every turn that they untap, they get an extra bauble thing. But obviously that did not pay off here. I want to, I think, use this Wasteland. No, I don't think I'm going to use the Wasteland now. I think that if they Pithing Needle Wasteland, I'm okay with that. Because I want my Leyline Dowsers to be able to go off without a hitch. They did name Wasteland. What do we got? Force of Will. I'll put Pyroblast on top, yeah. Of note, I won't be able to protect the Emery, the Pyroblast with Force of Will because of the fact that Force of Will, oops. Well, that was pretty face up now, but the fact that Force of Will means that the Ward 1 means that Force of Will would still cost 5, but I'd have to pay 2 to Pyroblast this Emery. Which I will do. I'm going to have to. Clearly it's run away with the game. Hydroblast. I have a feeling my opponent's just sitting on a pile of answers. Thought Monitor. My opponent has dealt 14 damage to themselves this game. If somehow I'm able to sneak a fourth Erlingus into play, it could be pretty devastating for my opponent. As it stands, though, we're not looking like we're going to win this game. Our opponent's at 5, coming up on 6 cards in hand. And despite the meltdowns, it just doesn't seem like we have enough here. It was a pretty clutch welding jar. Opponent's looking at turning up the clock. Also, this speaks like a some sort of soft counter magic, like a Flusterstorm, Hydroblast, or Metallic Rebuke that Opal play. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that. I respect it. I'm going to play around Flusterstorm and only Flusterstorm. I think. Like I could do X equals 1, play around Rebuke. Is that better? I just don't think I can outmuscle X equals 1. I think they can just leave one of these back to block and they take over the game. So I think I have to do it for X equals 2. They get the monarchy back. So I'm playing around Fluster here, but not Rebuke and not. Again, that's all I can do. Obviously, it's a little bit iffy exactly what to cast it for here. Like, if it resolved and it was bigger, I'd win. Okay. Oh, it's a Force of Will. They have to Otawara bounce Emery for. Okay, well, I guess the size didn't matter, but I did successfully play around it. Going to 1 here with a Kappa Cannoneer. Okay. I guess I'll hope to draw another. I'm dead. I'm dead. I say I hope to draw another 4th Erlingus, but I just lose because they can equip this, and then they attack for 11. Cool. Good games, opponent. And I'll see you all for round 4. We are 2-1. Hey everyone, we're here for round 4. We won the die roll. We're playing against someone who plays lots of different decks, but most recently was spotted on Red Stompy. I will keep this hand. I'm going to lead on a Flooded Strand Pass because the specifics of what they're on dictate what land I would fetch and whether or not I would use my Stifle. And also with the Ponders, I don't know what I'm pondering for since I don't know what they're playing. Okay, so we're going to go Flooded Strand Pass. Opponent kept 7. So we'll see what this means. Opponent's thinking. Let's see what they think about. Okay, so they led on a polluted delta as well in passing back, so they're probably on Scaminator. I will ponder. We'll see if they fetch. I'm going to stifle this fetch land. 100%. This looks super appealing to me. I'm looking for some sort of card advantage, I think. Really just trying to convert these ponders into the correct balance of lands and spells to play a fair-ish match of Magic. I don't really want these. Well, I found a Flooded Strand anyway. It does mean I'm kind of insulated against opposing wastelands. That's good. I like that. When it fetches an end step, probably. Yep. And I'm going to get a tropical island and stifle it. They're looking to get a surveil land going. If they have a force, they have to use it here. Which they do, and they are. I can't force back because it's a force of negation. Otherwise I would. If that was a forcible, I'd force back right there. Is this an Entomb? No, it's a Brainstorm and end step. Okay. I'm wondering if I would force an Entomb at this point, like force a negation. Maybe. We'll have to see exactly what the game looks like at the point where that happens. The thing is, they've got a lot more reanimation effects than they do in Tomb effects. So if they have something else good in the yard, and like I couldn't beat either card, then I probably let the Entomb resolve. If I can like beat the like creature in the graveyard, say it's like a troll and I have a plow, then I would force of negation the Entomb, and then just plow the troll. It's pretty context dependent. Opponent's probably gonna do something like cycle troll in their upkeep in order to get a perfect brainstorm. Is my guess. They're definitely taking their time on this brainstorm, though. Thinking hard. Or hardly thinking. Yeah, something this long on the brainstorm at this point means that they have a lot of decision trees. Like, do they draw a card? Do they upkeep, Entomb or Cycle Troll to like shuffle the top card away? There's a lot of different plays they could make, which means that it's probably one of those types of hands. It's a hard card to resolve correctly, so we'll see if they do it. They got there, I think. Let's see. Upkeep draw. Okay, so they're redrawing a card. I wonder what this means. Everyone's taking their sweet time. They ponder, so they're clearing, or they're looking at the top card that they know about plus 2 more unknowns and assessing that. They might be looking for land. I don't feel like forcing this. That is a waste of my own ponder. They chose not to shuffle. Okay, so Grief is coming and pitching a troll, so they found some more land. They probably reanimate. Like, they have land plus reanimate in hand now. And they'll be able to take my plow and my ponder. Force of negation. Okay. Let's start off with the ponder. I want this one to resolve. Don't know why they're thinking so long and hard on it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. No shuffle. I'm going to play out the land so I don't get dazed, and then I'm going to brainstorm under a Bowmaster. I don't think there's Bowmaster since I see a Dothy Voidwalker main deck, but I'd still rather do this now. Found a Wasteland, obviously, which I would have liked to have in play. But so I'll put 2 lands on top because I'd rather just be able to fetch for all of the spells. Like, or keep all the spells, since if Grief gets rid of 1, I could rather go from 2 down to 1 as opposed to 1 down to 0. Yep, so Grief hits play, takes my plow, presumably. And Prismatic Ending can trade with Animate Dead, which means that Grief would be able to come back into play. So we'll see if that's something I want to do. But at least I get to do some surveilling now to make that decision. Fully informed. I'll keep that on top. White, blue. Make sure I'm clicking the Animate Dead. The Animate Dead's being selected. So It means that another reanimate effect could put Grief back into play and take my 4th Erlingus. That's not a huge deal. I am going to try to continually play around Daze if I can. Daze is one of the cards I think is very, very likely that they're holding, given that they haven't really been, like, it's not a reanimate, it's not extra lands. Maybe it's double Daze and they're trying to weigh the effect of doing that right now. Which, like, props to them if they want to double Daze this. Okay, they don't want to double Daze it. Since they're light on lands, and I'm trying to make Daze bad, I'm going to Wasteland the Underground Sea, so if they have to Daze, pick up and replay, it's an ETB tapped land. Which at this point, I think entering untapped when you're on, like, between 0 and 2 lands is more important than the Surveil as you get into, like, the 3 to 5 land stage. The Surveil becomes more valuable than the untapped land. Again, just kind of a heuristic, but I need something to fill the time while my opponent plays extremely slowly. And again, so I prismatic ending first before playing the Wasteland because I wanted them to evaluate that whole situation without knowing that they were about to lose this Underground Sea. Which they just did. I'm going to play around Daze. By doing a 4th Erlingus for 1. This does not play around Brazen Borrower, but I think it's much more likely they have Daze. They're considering firing off this Wasteland now to prevent me from Mystic Sanctuarying back something else. They opted to not go that route. Yeah, I'm just trying to do a little one. And I hope I can beat a Daze and I don't get Borrowed. I really do think they have Daze. Borrower. Well, I mean, them's the beats. Now Borrower can come into play too. Very rude. Well, I'll start off with the Brainstorm. Okay. I could Stifle Not this Uro into play. I think that I will. Because the 4th Erlingus is not a sure thing with this Wasteland. So I grab Stifle now. One, two, three. This does eat it to Daze. But as far as things to eat it to Daze go, I think this one's pretty free on the list. Like, I still get to recast arrow as soon as I draw another green source. Or we're in, then they're dazing. That's my guess. Yep. So they did have the days too. So we played around the days. We did what we could. Now it's likely that Trop is going to get wastelanded. They are brainstorming. One thing to be aware of here, I'm going to make them go coast to coast as far as dealing me lethal goes, because I'm at 21 minutes on the clock. They're at 13. I've used 4 minutes. They've used 12. And so the clock is a valid way to win. I'm going to make them do that. Cycle Troll. Reanimate Voidwalker. Okay. Well, get rid of a Voidwalker, and I will do that. And then I'll pass. It's good that mostly, like, if I draw lands, I'm closer to getting this Uro back into play. If I draw spells, I'm closer to being able to interact. Like, here we go. I'm just gonna, I'll leave this until combat. I'll plow the borrower now. I am totally fine with this Force of Will. You know, that's one of the few things I can't really cast until I draw another green source. Opponent is now, I'm at 2018, they're at 1154, 53, and counting. To find I can, like, you know, stabilize with an Uro and climb back into this game, and then they're at 7 minutes for game 2. And I'm looking to be in really good shape for winning the match. Opponent's turn. And it kind of feels like they're double queuing the way that they're taking these long pauses. Then they make a lot of rapid fire plays and they take a long pause and then rapid fire plays and a long pause. And that's kind of the telltale sign for double queuing. If someone's just like playing slowly, then they're kind of playing slowly at a consistent pace in a single game. But long pauses followed by fast plays means that they're probably playing 2 games at once, and the pause is while they're playing the other game. So I'll pause again while my opponent is pausing. Entering combat and attacking. They are with 10 minutes on the clock to hour 20. Reanimate Grief. Taking an Uro is kind of funny. Unfortunately for me, this means that they're attacking for 6 now, which is a lot more than the 3 that was just prior. Waiting on that Swords to Plowshares is looking progressively worse. Again, I'm going to make them go all the way through this. There's absolutely no way that this should have taken, at this point, 16 minutes of their clock. Yeah, just about 16 minutes of their clock. for the first game while taking 5 of mine. I could draw a Supreme Verdict off the top also. Would be nice. We're in their upkeep now. I'm just doing these little pauses while they are AFK because I feel like it's inconsiderate to do otherwise for you, the viewer. They're attacking me now. I'm down to 2. Supreme Verdict is really the card I want. I have 2 of them in the deck. Come on, Supreme Verdict. Justice one time. No justice. And again, this is just like no reason to give them any benefit here on the clock. They've spent so much time attacking. Okay, they got game 1. We are going to cut the fawns. And a prismatic ending, I believe, for 2 surgicals, 2 veils. I kind of like Pyroblast. There's like Murktide Regents and stuff. I have ways around that. Maybe this is where I want to be. Game 2. Yeah. Yeah, this seems good. Honestly, I couldn't do this because they're so far behind on time that I want the extra removal spell just to not lose. And I think that that's going to be a more guaranteed way to win. Okay. Got Force. I've got Leyline Dowser. Got 2 basics as well. Given that we opened on a Stifle last time, I'm going to go Island Pass because it might threaten a Stifle or like look like I'm going to stifle them. They're thinking about it. Grief, pitch, grief. As weird as this is, I think I want to force this because if they don't have the reanimate right now, I'd much rather keep the Leyline Dowser and be able to play it. Okay. Maybe this gets dazed. Maybe that means we get a 4th Erlingus in next turn. That'd be cool. Okay, Leyline Dowser's in. That's good. Now they reanimate. You take the 4th, which I don't really mind right now. Let's see what we find. Mill to land, which isn't the worst because, you know, we don't really mind milling lands here. I'm going to Surveil on end step and then maybe upkeep Activate Dowser if it's a instant or sorcery that I want. And I'll do that with green-blue edge maze. Don't want that. Green verdict is solid. I think I'm gonna get a archive now and try to find a good card as well. All right, well, I don't really want that one. Milling a lot of lands, but that's okay. Okay, so this Bowmaster's coming in. Hopefully we get to Supreme Verdict. I mean, even if they take it, I get to Mystic Sanctuary it back up, so it's still fine. And we found a plow, so that's pretty good too. One, two, three, four. Supreme Verdict. And I'll put that right back on top. Which I'll be able to draw on my end step with Leyline Dowser. So, you know, if they flash in a borrower now, that's fine. They can then also grief me or whatever. It doesn't really matter because I'll be able to draw that card. License Hearse is not going to do it for them. Yep. So at this point, oh, second Dowser, okay. That changes the math on whether or not I want to plow or verdict, I think. And then I'll hold off on these other two Dowsers until I know more about the game state. I don't want to reveal information to my opponent right now. I am kind of scared of this hearse because it means that once it gets big enough, they'll be able to instant speed, you know, as soon as they get a creature into play, crew it, attack with it. But a prismatic ending would get rid of it. There's lots of things I can do. As well as watch their clock run out. In their upkeep now, draw. See what they do. Reanimate Grief. I think I'm going to just take all the cards in case I find a force. Oh, I found a plow. That's fine. They might take the plow, but what you're going to do? They get to crew, which is pretty annoying. Get in there for 2. which is exactly what they're doing. Uro is a nice draw. So given that the board means that they're... Do I want to Uro first? I think I want to Ponder first. Because I can still Supreme Verdict. Ooh, and I found a Stifle and a Force. I like all these cards. I think I'm going to do Uro the natural way, though. So I'll play Uro, draw the Stifle. So the Stifle's on top. Is that, yeah, maybe I do Stifle to keep the Uro in play now as a blocker. I'm going to go to 6. Oh, man. Did I screw this up? Do I need a Force now? Did I put those in the wrong order? I don't think I put them in the wrong order. Did I screw this up? Maybe I screwed this up. They didn't fire it off in response to the Ponder, so I just didn't think they had it. Tough beats. Alright, I guess I doused in response. Ah, wrong land, I guess. If I had fetched a Savannah there, it also would have worked, but I was leaving up, I don't know. Still doesn't work. If I lose here. Green would have saved me here. As it stands, I lose. That's really frustrating. I definitely could have played this better. But we are going to be 2-2 in this event against the slowest player who ever lived. I'm just having fun at this point. All right, 2-2. See you all for round 5. Okay, and we're back for round 5. Against RASVD. Apparently they're a creative technique player, so this Stifle is looking real good. I'll keep the hand. The creative technique deck, for clarity, looks like this. So they basically just cascade into a Tybalt's Trickery or a Creative Technique, as the name goes. So basically they cast a bunch of these. The Tybalt's Trickery one folds to a single Force of Will, while the Creative Technique one needs 2 forces to be answered, but Stifle does kind of help a little bit because it stifles the Cascade trigger. So we'll see how these things go. I'll keep this. This sideboard Lavinia is going to be huge. This is not Creative Technique at all. That's on me. Now I hope that I get Wastelanded here so that I can stifle it. That's the ideal situation. Passing through the turn here. They're cycling their troll, probably, is my guess. Oh, Lorien. Okay, so they're maybe on... I'll find out more about what they're on once they figure out what color they're showing me. Volcanic Island, so probably on Delver. Okay, well, I'm going to wasteland or stifle this now. Hopefully there's no second wasteland coming. I don't know why I put that into the universe. I would be very sad. Okay, cool. Oh, it's Rhinos. So we see what they... Yeah, it's a fairly standard looking Rhinos deck. Okay. I'll force this one pitching a Brainstorm. Force is pitching a Ponder, I think, because I'd rather Brainstorm a couple of these cards away. Like, I don't need 4th Lingus right now. And I don't really need Prismatic Ending if I Wasteland. If one only has 2 cards in hand, so Wastelanding there means that they're going to be down to 1 card, or like, 3 cards in hand, no permanents on the field, so I'm not imminently going to get Rhinoed again, and even if I do, I have a Force backup. Then I will draw the Prismatic Ending, I will fetch Tundra, I will play Leyline Dowser. Now I believe that we have full control over this game. Because this thing just draws a billion cards, and they have no board presence. And we have a Force. Yep, that's the Volk we knew about. They are surprisingly close, again, to being able to cascade. Okay, that's fine. I will replay that. And I have another one. I'm saving this Force for another set of Rhinos. Which is probably coming now, is my guess. Yep. And there's the Rhinos right there. Which we force. I'm going to hedge maze first to see if I can draw the card. Yep. getting my value. Wonder if I want to get like a Mystic Sanctuary or something. I think I do. That's pretty good. Supreme Verdict. So I will get Brainstorm. Yep. This is actually pretty nice of them because now I get to Prismatic ending the borrower in a clean fashion. I need to use white. I know how these cards work. And then Brainstorm, like I can still Leyline Dowser for Brainstorm on a subsequent turn. So I already made a land drop this turn. The reason I got rid of the borrowers, I want to motivate them to make sure they do another Rhino if they have one. Like that. So now I'm drawing a Brainstorm. I will dig for the second white. Really hope to hit. And step draw Brainstorm. Cast Brainstorm. Miss on white, but it did find a Ponder. And a Loam. Maybe I put these two back. Dowser fourth. I cast Loam targeting Misty and Wasteland. I play the Misty out. And I can draw fourth Erlingus at my leisure. Otherwise, I'm taking 10 damage. Quite a chunk of damage. Well, that just gets swallowed up by the verdict, so gonna let that happen. So if I do this, draw the fourth, I may as well fetch to 1 because I need to draw the white anyway and use the Surveil land. Don't want that one. Not doing that with Loam. Yeah, at this point, let's go blue, white, white. Verdict, get it all out of here. Okay. I think I hit the Volk. Or do I set up a ponder? I'm just going to blind Dowser. Keeping a force pitch. Okay, that's great. That means if I survive this turn, I should be able to, and I can get a natural green source going. I should be able to Uro soon. Opponent didn't even need me to find a natural green. Very kind of them. Okay, so against the rhinoceroses. Lavinia seems good. Fourth Erlinga seems wholly unnecessary. Flusterstorms seem good. Surgical's like okay. I think Leyline, or sorry, Loam is actually too slow against them. Probably want the full set of fawns. Hydroblast does have some text against like the Minsk and Booze and stuff. Pyroblast has some text against their forces. I think I'd rather have Pyroblast in. And then I can cut like a Wasteland or two. I just don't think the game is about me wastelanding them ever. The reason I want surgical is once I counter the first Rhino, I want to just get rid of all the Rhinos. It really hamstrings their deck. And I think I could cut, let's see here. Maybe I don't need the flusters. Or no, I guess fluster is better than Pyroblast. Whoops. Oh, this has no lands. This has lots of lands. We'll keep it. Get rid of one of the Leyline Dowsers. Could have gotten rid of a land as well. Okay, Footfalls on suspend. Like the Bulls on parade. Now I wish I, been to land. I'm going to do end step, surveil land, untap, brainstorm. Unless I'm getting rhinoed right now, in which case I have to emergency brainstorm. I'm getting rhinoed right now and have to emergency brainstorm. Oh, we hit the forest, just on a blue card. That's bad. We're in huge trouble here. I basically do not win this game. I'm taking 10 next turn. And I don't even know why I didn't play Dowser. Oh, because I need to surveil, I guess. In real answers, it's late and I'm tired, but okay, yeah, we're packing it up. I don't want to play more of this game too. Flusterstorm is better than Pyroblast because it counters the Cascade spell. And it doesn't require red. Keep. So this does counter Cascade, so it might be worth doing that. And so I'm just going to go basic on Ponder here. Try to set up my mana. Found a basic plains. And another ponder. Yeah, it seems fine. That means that this Lorien reveal can get like a trop. I think we're hitting the point. Like turn 2 is kind of when I expect them to start rhinoing. So this turn I'm going to Lorien revealed in the end step. Like I'll brainstorm and then Lorien revealed in the end step, maybe like to shuffle it, air quotes. Yep, so I stifle the cascade trigger. They have a 2/2. I go get a tropical island. Burrow, huh? Is that worth doing right now? Or is it better for me to just kind of set up the board? If I draw a land off the top, it's very good to Uro right now. Yeah, I'll try my luck. I Uro'd off the top. Also fun. More Uros where that came from. Burrows of Uros. Another cascade? Sure is. This one's, of course, resolving. That would have been the thing to cantrip for. Okay, we can hold it together here. Oh, there's a stifle. So I'm going to brainstorm first. Get rid of, I don't think I have time to Dowser. I'll get rid of like a ponder. And then I will ponder Rooney. Found a force of will, that's good. Oh, a Rhino. So now next turn I can get an Uro into play from my hand with the stifle. Or I guess at this point I could I'll play a trop out and then stifle the wasteland activation. Because I could also just like rebuy the Uro from my graveyard if I draw a white source. Magus, absolutely not. Or draw a green or a blue source. So Magus, I'll pitch Uro. Taking 8, going to 10. Not the blue I needed. This sort of is. So I think I bin the Supreme Verdict. So Lester, Supreme Verdict, Edge Maze, no shuffle. Basically, I'm going to go to 2 in a very vulnerable shields down. And then I'm going to go up to 5, at which point I could like block Rhino, take 4. Oh no, I lose. That sucks. Oh, the wheels fell off at this one. More Rhinos where that came from. And lethal, just because of violent outburst. GG. All right, 2 and 3, unfortunately, but we'll play the last one. See how we finish up. See you all for round 6. All right, we're here for our 6th and final round. Playing for top 32. Not really where I wanted to be after starting 2-0, but that's what we got. It looks like our opponent's probably on Cradle control. The Hello Newton deck. Buddy Newton. All right, so Noble Hierarch is in. I'm not going to be attacking the mana. I think I need to just focus on attacking the threats. And this will do that. I'm just going to try to get rid of the scarier cards that our opponent plays here. Like Fiend Artisan. Fiend Artisan's one of those cards that you really can't let him untap with. And so I'm debating using 2 mana this turn. I think, yeah, I want to use 2 mana this turn and I'll like leave mana open more on subsequent turns. So I'll go green and knock out the Artisan. So I can force a negation, a natural order, or green suns that I need to answer. Looks like green sun for 3, and I'm gonna force that because I don't want to deal with Grist. Now I think I get a Leyline Dowser in there. No, now I Wasteland the Cradle. And I'm going to start actually with the Brainstorm because it will give me a good sense of how I should point this plow. I did play a land, so I think the answer is I'm not going to point this plow anywhere yet. I'm going to play the Leyline Dowser next turn and draw it. So I'll put plow down under Volcanic Island. Yeah. And pass. Getting 2 mana in the end step to cast it once upon a time, I think. Yep. And another Fiend Artisan. Reclaimer is in. So I'm going to force the Artisan if it gets played at all. Because then I can Dowser and draw the... Yeah. I should be aware of a potential Sajiri step in opponent's deck. Because I know that Newton's been trying it as a precursor to the new land from Modern Horizons 3, I think Commander, where ETBs and lets you phase a creature out. But a turn of Sajiri Step is a turn that is not getting a Cradle, although Cradle's already in play, so. I guess I can do it on upkeep because of it being a source of pleasures. I will surveil. I like having that. I'll just put it in the yard. Yeah, so my plan now is I'll do it on upkeep to force the Reclaimer to tap. And then once the Reclaimer is tapped out, I'll be able to surveil the creature down. Let's see what opponent gets here. They're going to surveil first. So now that they're tapped out, they return forest, untap creature, activate once each turn. They could kind of double dip there. Put a card on top. What's happening? Big green sun. 5/8. A hoof. Then attracts a. Sure is. Okay, let's see what it gets. I might have to end step mill this Uro just to clear it. Okay. I don't think that this Claimer can untap. So maybe I do okay with Uro here. Green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 9. And I have a force in hand. That's looking pretty convenient. Means I can force whatever. I didn't even look at what they took with the Traxa. Misty. Oh, Grist. I don't want them to have Grist. I'm going to mill first to see if I mill a card I'd rather pitch to force. Like that. So I will force, pitch, force. Probably still in trouble. Is this seriously a natural order? That would be a little bit salty if it's a natural order. What'd they take? They took Misty, Green Sun's Noble Hearth. It's Green Sun for 2. Okay. Maybe they're turning off Leyline Dowser. Oh, they're getting a Fiend Artisan. Okay. This is a convenient draw. Start with an attack. See how they block, because I might be able to mess with blocks. No blocks. Brainstorm. Supreme Verdict. There we go. That's what we're talking about. Okay, so I'll put back Prismatic Ending, Source of Pleasures. Play this out. Go white, white, blue. Should have obviously kept plow in hand as opposed to force. That was pretty silly of me. But the verdict is good. Dryad Arbor does get saved for this Quirion Ranger. And something else is happening. My graveyard's getting exiled. Okay. Fair. Okay. So I did stabilize the board. I'll be able to answer both these creatures with the 2 cards I'm drawing. And I will upkeep activate the Leyline Dowser because I know about the Prismatic Ending. That was a convenient draw. I think I'm going to keep it for a force pitch though. Prismatic Ending, get rid of the Noble. Plow, get rid of the Arbor, and that's just to basically shut off my opponent from doing anything relevant now. Because all they have is, you know, Cradle tapping for nothing. And I'll get rid of this. I'm just countering things to get this Uro back into play. There we go, perfect. Green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uro's back into play. And I can also, on the end step, activate Leyline Dowser again by tapping Uro. We hit an island. What's it gonna be? Elvish Reclaimer? Ignoble Hierarch. Let's get some surveilling going. Okay, now I actually do want to draw Life from the Loam. Opponent sees it. So we got game 1. Quite a turnaround. Okay. Don't want 4th Lingus because those cards just die. I mean, sorry, let me be more clear. I lose the board presence. That's what I mean to say. Like, they're beating me on board for 99% of the game, so this card is really not great. Although I do need like 1, I think, just to be able to fireball because these Uros are so vulnerable to the graveyard. I'll try this. Submitting the deck. This Leyline Dowser card has been pretty fun. Pretty good, I think. I don't know if it's like crazy good, but like once I have, if I have the time to kind of go off with it, it's pretty nuts. I will surveil first turn. I'll keep a wasteland because I already have life from the loam. I have a little combo there. .Cs, yep. Good news is they don't see the wasteland. Taking force, huh? Okay, well, I can stifle the first activation of that. So if they sack something with Fiend Artisan, I can just stifle that. Right now it's just getting in there for 2. Stifle the Exalted trigger. It's a very bad use of stifle, but it's something I'm technically allowed to do. Force of Negation's a decent draw. Plow is a great draw. I think I need to plow the Artisan, not the Reclaimer. I don't think any trick. Okay, I was concerned for a second that some trickery was happening. But no trickery is happening. Just surveilling because I've taken all my actions. Okay, now Reclaimer's crashing in for 5. First getting a land, then crashing in for 5. Bogging me, okay. Yeah, now crashing in for 5. Oh, wait, sorry. Now surveilling, then crashing in for 5. At some point, we will be crashing in for 5. As you can see. So I know the top card is a hit, so I'm going to do a Leyline Dowser. And I'll leave up Stifle because if I need it, I can use it. And then otherwise I can just Leyline Dowser end of turn. Oh yeah, protected with Forces of Negation. Let's get pondering. Uro is a solid pickup because I can stifle it into play next turn. One, two, three, no shuffle. Yeah, so I can draw the Force of Will with Leyline Dowser. And I'm okay on life. Which is good because I'm not doing great on much else. Like holding up. Go from 3 to 6. With this whole shenaniganry. We play the Uro. Draw. Don't put in. Stifle. So now I have some degree of stability. Endurance. I do not believe that I care. Because 2 creatures attacking versus 1 doesn't really make a difference. What's this gonna be? Oh, just surveilling. Okay. I was worried for a second. I think I have a pretty good handle on the game now. Because I can force anything that moves. Yeah, surveil first. Why not? Put on top. Okay, well, I don't want that to happen, so I'll fawn pitch fawn, I think. Fawn pitch Lorien revealed. So let's start with a prismatic ending on Elvish Reclaimer. And then, okay, so that just resolved. Brainstorm. I have 3 islands. I can put these 2 away. I can fetch. Get a Mystic Sanctuary. Rebuy Prismatic Ending. Pay 1 to put it in hand. Attack, and if I draw a land, I can do it to Endurance. If I don't draw a land, well, I did, but I could do it to like a Noble Hierarch. I'll go white, blue, green. Get out of here. Bant. Color. Prismatic ending Endurance. You ended as Bant. How embarrassing. So again, I'm countering whatever this is. They bounce the land back to hand, so they only have 1 spell, yeah. Fawn, pitching force. And I have this game pretty locked up. I saw the dispatching of Cradle Control. And a solid, 3-3 with a kind of silly deck in the tournament. I'm not going to pretend this was like the most competitive thing to be doing. I did it because it was fun. And I wanted to kind of see how the deck performed. I'm just going to leave up Supreme Verdict. Or sorry, leave up Force of Will. There's no need to Supreme Verdict is what I was trying to say. I'm winning this Wraith. They're hitting me for 2. I'm gaining 3, so I'm gaining a life a turn. They're taking 6 per turn. Another Supreme Verdict. Let's attack. Okay. Close one. Good block. Okay. Oh, what are you casting? Absolutely not. No cards for you. And then natural order? No. I'd rather not. Now we win because they have no board and we're attacking for 6. Okay, cool. So 3 and 3. Let's look at who's around the top of this thing. Shatin, I think, was like a mono red / goblins player. Our 8 cast opponent is in the top 8. Good for them. Let's see here. Flost is like a mono black stompy player. Is locked into the top 8. Good for them. Atatinia is probably on blue black Scaminator. Very cool. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck. And one more thing, credit for the idea goes to his YouTube channel's Crucible of Worlds, like the card. He was messing around with this deck or this archetype of like hot Bant with Leyline Dowser and sent me a list that I just kind of tuned. I added like some stifles and cut Timeless Dragons and a couple little sideboard tweaks, but the core conceit of the deck is definitely from him, and so I wanted to shout him out for a really cool list. Yeah, we finished 3 and 3 in the challenge. Good for top 32. Definitely not going to top 16. Definitely not going to fall out of top 32. So it's because we were 28 and we're moving up, and we're not moving that far up. So, I'm guessing I'm going to be somewhere like 21st or 22nd place. We'll find out. When this video is released, I'll have the deck list linked in the video description, so you'll be able to know exactly how I finished. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this Leyline Dowser video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.